Reform as a party, and with Farage as their leader, are going downhill. In fact, they've been exposed as the silly, goofy traitors that they are, and at this point, if you are somebody who's on the edge of whether or not you support Reform and vote for them for the next general election, I'm here to tell you that you need to jump ship before it's too late, before you end up being embarrassed, and before you end up regretting your decision.
Agreed. And the point we really want to touch on today is that Reform, they're losing momentum for two reasons. Firstly, they're still stuck in 2016. And what I mean by that is they're still stuck on the kind of, the left, they're all vegan. If we can all just get down to the pub and drink some pints, it'll be all right. They're not serious about it one bit. I mean, you look at the imaging that we're showing right here on the screen, it's all smiles, it's all serious. In spite of the fact that gas prices are going up because of establishment-led foreign policy aims. The other reason they've lost momentum is they have now exposed themselves as part of the establishment. And that's the first point that I really want to emphasize here, is them being part of the establishment. Now, I've said it before, but I'll re-emphasize it now because it's important to say. Reform are only trying to reform the current system. It's there explicitly within their name. They are reforming what has been. They're just adding a slight caveat to appeal to the discontent that there is. So if we actually want to see change, it has to be dissident. Reform are only looking to strengthen it. They are the right-wing element of the Blairist system. That's why they're the ones that you bring in when you want to have a bit more of an aggressive foreign policy. And it's why they're the ones that are kind of vocal on us getting involved in Iran, which is a terrible idea, but that's for another day. But what we're looking at is why they have lost momentum. Their silliness, and also the fact that, they're not genuine, and they are part of the system. And this is going to be an issue in the upcoming election, because the British public are tired of this, and they can see through it by now. I know I'm giving quite a lot of a compliment to the public, but if anything like the Gorton and Denton by-election shows, people can see through this. They're not going to vote for Reform if they were, and the left has got itself now a true distant entity, which we'll touch on now, the Greens.
And here's the issue with the Greens, in this case, very quickly, I wanted to add, Christian bro, is that in terms of them being dissident, they're the only true option of dissidents in politics, other than who we'll talk about later, Restore specifically. But they're also not very appealing, or at least we thought they weren't. I think the Gorton and Denton by-election shows that they are. Hannah Spencer's speech that she did after her victory, I think on social media got a lot of support, even from just normal British people. I think it was like a 24-year-old guy who's working 2 jobs, normal white British male, and he showed his support for people like Hannah Spencer.
I mean, if you look at the state of Britain, there is no way Reform should be losing ground to the Green Party. The Green Party are just advocating for essentially more of what we've got, with a couple of extra things to divert themselves away from the system, i.e. support of Palestine. Reform should not be losing to a party that is advocating for more migration. And yet they have. And they have because, A, the Greens can attract the minority client groups. That's one thing. But B, people are genuinely just sick of the bullshit of the establishment. The Greens are actually offering a challenge to it. The Greens are actually saying, no, we're not going to be Israel's bitch. No, we are actually going to stand up for Palestine, an issue that does genuinely matter to a lot of people in Britain, especially young people. I'd say that is actually the leading concern for young people in the country, weirdly, Palestine. So they've got that burden. But Reform shouldn't be losing to this, but they are, because either no one wants to vote for them because they just know they're going to get more of the same, or Green can overtake those votes by actually offering decent economic incentives for people, as ludicrous as they are and won't work. But if you want to appeal to a voter base, offering cash is always a good way of going about it. And this is an issue Reform have. They're going to lose to the real left because all they're doing is co-opting to the system. I don't know if you have any further thoughts on the Greens as an entity.
No, I think they're doing well to take the real concerns of the British public and direct them. Because like you said, the British public is realizing that Reform aren't really going to do anything. They can't be taken seriously. And I feel like a lot of British people might not actually agree with the Greens' economic policies or even their domestic policies when it comes to migration, but they're willing to put up with that for something that is real, for something that isn't fake. I think people are genuinely done with the fake smiles, with the everything's well here on this island, because it isn't. And people are fed up with the bullshit they've been fed since, the 90s, early 2000s. I'd say even since the 2010s with David Cameron Boris Johnson later on. Like it's all been regurgitated, the same stuff again and again and again. And like you mentioned earlier, because Farage and Reform were stuck in 2016, people have just heard the same stuff for the 10 years now. So if with somebody coming in and saying something different, even if that person is Hannah Spencer or Corbyn or I forgot the guy, Polanski, they're actually given something, which they shouldn't be in the first place. Obviously, like you said, they shouldn't be losing to Reform at all.
Losing to the Greens, but yeah, no, that's the point you make. Is the most valid point in that they're real. No matter like how deluded they are, the Greens are offering a genuine solution. They don't come across as if they're doing this for power, like the kind of Tory and Labour establishment are. They genuinely seem like they care. They genuinely have a voice that is resonating with people. And we'll move on to the genuine opposition and to Reform on the right, and the hopeful ones in Restore. Restore are beating Reform as it stands in the kind of online space and hopefully in the election because they're genuine. You contrast Farage's kind of, smiling Jack the Lad type of energy to Rupert Lowe, who has this kind of stoic, serious, this is actually, stuff has to be done demeanor. And people will resonate with Restore. And that's my big hope for Restore. They've got young energy in there. They've got talented people working for them. And they have a serious energy about them because they've also embraced Gen Z as well. That's something Reform have failed to do. Reform, if you look at their campaign management, it's all the kind of, Gen X boomer type of people, the same people we've had for ages. Restore, luckily, have embraced people like Charlie Downs, a young, charismatic guy that can get people on with them, that can resonate with young people. And they are serious. And we've seen Reform. I think Reform have worried about this. That's why Nigel was wearing that. If you go back to the first slide, why Nigel was wearing the kind of barber jacket and flat cap. He's switched away from his cheap suit gimmick. He's no longer looking like a Butlins presenter. Now he's trying to embrace Rupert Lowe's style of like the authentic Englishman. He can't do it as well because he doesn't have that in a character, of course. But they're going for it because they're worried. And that's the point. Restore are genuine. They are serious. Reform simply aren't. And that's why Reform have lost energy. Reform have lost energy because they can't convey an element of we will actually get something done to the British public. Restore are getting that energy through. I mean, you wanted to touch on something about like presentation, didn't you, Muslim Bro?
Yeah, I'll walk them through that now. Divya, I'll walk you through it now. But a very important thing as well that I wanted to mention is that if we were to look at it, if you've watched a little bit of the Base Bros, I'm into psychology as a Muslim bro. The archetype of Rupert Lowe is of the caring father who's putting the household together. The household that's been a mess with, the kids running around, screaming, getting away with everything, your neighbors knocking on your door at 3 a.m, no boundaries being set, and the father saying, I'm home now, and I'm putting an end to this, I'm organizing this. Whereas Farage, to be honest, I don't even know what archetype it would be. Just the funny guy at the pub who you always joke about saying, "Oi, Dave, if you were Prime Minister, I'd vote for you," and he took it seriously. Right? A bit weird.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it's very silly to take. Yeah, it would just be very silly to take him seriously, is what I'm saying. Like I said, it's almost like a joke. It's almost like a joke that he started this because he got egged on by his mates. Obviously, that's not the case. We're not saying it is, because that would just also be silly of us to say. But regardless, I'm going to show you very quickly 3 videos. The first of all is just to show you what Farage is stuck in, if you will. Right? Like let's just start. This is self-explanatory.
Yeah. To the author of my favourite novel, Alex Sam, wishing you a POG recovery after the Chungus imposter sabotaged O2. Hopefully now you can get back to your busy schedule of fanfic writing and revision. Don't be a backer. Sus, 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 sus. Hi Sneed, we all think Chuck.
I mean, it's just silly, isn't it? It's like that worked back. That worked maybe back when Boris Johnson got elected. Sure, that energy back in the 2010s.
Yeah, like people needed to laugh. Yeah, people needed to laugh. They were depressed during COVID. Like, it's understandable why it did well then. But again, it's for a laugh. Like the guy at the pub, like I said, it's like he makes you laugh. You had a hard day of work. He makes you laugh. But it's not somebody you should be trusting with taking care of your country. And I just want to show some small nuanced stuff as well. Yeah, well, are you going to say anything else by the Christian, bro? Just before we move on to this video. I was going to say, like, even small things, right? Like, I'm personally really into YouTube, not just from our perspective. Like if you listen to me and Christian Bro, for example, we bought some nice mics, right? Because we knew that if we wanted to be presented as well put together and the way we present ourselves in general, we want to come forward with the best foot, right? And so just listen to the mic quality just for the first 2 seconds. This small stuff actually matters, by the way. When you take into consideration hundreds of thousands or thousands of people are seeing this video, and you're allowing yourself to have crappy mic quality, a shaky camera like setup, like it's just very off the cuff, right? And this isn't quote unquote raw. This isn't quote unquote unscripted, unfiltered and authentic. Just lazy, But anyway, I'll be quiet. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
So here we are in Portsmouth Harbour. We've got the Millennium. Behind it, we've got HMS Victory. We've got HMS Warrior, the first ironclad. And
like the mic just sounds horrible. It's like, imagine if I started deep throating my microphone. It just sounds horrible. And you contrast that with Rupert Lowe and his team, right? At Restore Britain. Just already, if you look at the thumbnails on their YouTube videos, they're a lot better prepared. Well, there's some effort put in. But we got the classic video here of the manifesto, right? Like the music, the camera quality.
It might be iconic in a couple of years.
Exactly.
I've chosen to speak to you today from the farm because
like it's a beautiful video. It's very well put together. And just their average video, okay, this one, we can argue it has a specific purpose, right? It's something that they're trying to put, something forward that will motivate people. But let me show you just some random video of them going around Liverpool.
Yes.
What do you think of him?
I quite like him, actually.
Why do you think that?
I like what he says. I like what he stands for. And
now, I won't give the details because it's a bit boring for you. But the camera is stabilized. They got good quality mics, right? The way they're approaching people, the way they're talking to people, it's a lot kinder. It's a lot softer. It's like how you talk to a friend. Whereas Nigel's video, flipping yelling at us. It's not nice. Anyway,
that's
back to the slideshow as well.
That's the point we've been iterating. That's the point we've been iterating. For reform, it's kind of, there's no urgency. They don't seem to be kind of caring of the situation the country's in. Restore, through their clean presentation, it demonstrates that they're serious. There is that serious energy going through Restore, wherever it is. Because they truly are offering a genuine solution. They're the opposition. They're not part of the blob. And that's, I think, what we want to end on shortly, is just why reform truly have been co-opted. And it's basically just down to an element of elite theory and called the iron law of oligarchy. Since Thatcher, Britain has essentially just been stuck in the same kind of governance system. You'll see slight changes between Labour and Tory, but ultimately, as we've all realised and come to know, nothing really changes. Migration still continues, foreign policy stays the same, the direction of the government stays the same. In fact, if anything, the Tories almost end up doing the left-wing stuff and the Labour end up doing the right-wing stuff because they can kind of get away with it. But at the end of the day, the objectives are cemented in. And Reform are just offering, essentially, we're going to buy into this. We're going to buy into the aims of the system, but we're going to kind of present it in a slightly more right-wing way to appease the anger of the country. But ultimately, they'll just end up doing the exact same thing. I would not be surprised if we got a Farage wave. I'm genuinely that black-pilled on Reform as an entity. So yeah.
Incredibly well said, Christian, bro. Very well said. I got an analogy in mind. When I personally didn't celebrate Christmas necessarily, but I've had birthdays. And you get a big box as a present, and you're thinking, what? This is either going to be like an Xbox, it's going to be like a huge toy, a new bike or whatever. And you open it and there's just something small inside. Like, something's being packaged to you, I'm saying, in the most desirable way possible. But it's shallow. There's no depth to it. And the reason there's no depth to it is because fundamentally, Reform are just these four guys with a different face on. There's nothing really truly fundamentally different because they're not coming in to change the system. They're coming in to do what the system already does, but just packaging it in a different way. Different wrapper. Exactly.
There in the net.
Exactly.
One caveat I want to end on slightly, and the whole crux of this video has kind of rested on the idea of people craving genuineness. Is that even a word? You know what I mean? Not craving the same thing. And we are resting on the assumption that the public is aware of this. And I will just slightly would offer, do we genuinely think this, though? Do we genuinely think the public are perceptible to this? I'm personally going to take the slightly optimistic approach that I do think the public are aware of this. I think if you look at the membership rates of Restore, and if you look at the by-election in Gorton and Denton, you've got two very good case studies of system fatigue. But just, yeah, any final thoughts on that, Muslim bro? Just on the, do we have the faith in the public to kind of be aware of this now, that reform are just the same as what we've had?
Hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say, I want to see what the people have to say in the comments. But as like a short point as well, I think people are starting to be more aware. I don't think they have enough information or enough knowledge to make the right decision necessarily. They definitely have enough information or knowledge to avoid the wrong one. So I think that's what stage we're currently at. We're at enough awareness to avoid something like reform, but maybe not enough to go for something like Restore wholeheartedly. So that's where I stand.
Okay. No, fair enough. But yeah, just to summarize, reform started out as another populist movement, looked like they were gaining energy, but they've lost it for two reasons. They've lost that energy, A, because they're not serious, be it through their presentation, be it through what they're promising, and B, people can see through the bullshit finally and are craving something genuine. And Restore or Greens, no matter who it is, will probably win the next election based on this fact. The people have finally had enough of the system, God willing.
Fantastic. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment, especially about your thoughts in regard to the public, whether or not they're starting to awaken a little bit to the realities of politics. And yeah, don't forget to like the video as well. God bless you all. Take care of yourself. And God willing, we'll see you in the next video.